grid into elements that have the potential to come together and to form a structure. The structure called, if it happens during the night, a dream, your dream work, your ongoing, I mean the work that your mind does in order to produce a dream, right? The dream being the result of your alpha function. During the day, that happens just the same, only that typically we don't notice that, because during the day our attention is deployed outward. We pay attention to so many things that we have to do. We have to walk, we have to work, we have to talk, we have to listen, and so on. So we are not drawn inward to pay attention to our dream work. I compare it to what happens in a movie theater, right? The reason why the lights have to be turned off in a movie theater is because if there were too much light, you wouldn't be able to see the image on the screen. In order to see the image on the screen, the room has to be dark. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't project the movie on the screen nevertheless. The problem is that you wouldn't be able to see it if there is much light. Whereas the dream work happens the same. We dream during the day and during the night all the time, but during the day there is too much light, too many other stimuli coming into our minds, so we don't have the ability to observe our dreams because we are observing other stimuli that are stronger, right? But when we go to sleep, then we are only left with internal stimuli, right? We close our eyes, our ears go to sleep, our senses, all the sensory apparatus go to sleep, so no more or very little stimuli from around us get in, and that leaves us in a privileged state to let our dreams impact our minds that are asleep now and sensitive to our dreams.
Grotstein has a lovely way of saying that it's like the stars in the sky.
Exactly.
That they're always there, but you only see them at night when the sun goes down.
Exactly. It's the same metaphor as with the movie theater. Correct. Exactly. Right. Only that, I like the movie theater because in a movie there is always action going on, while the stars, I mean, we don't, of course they move also, but we don't see them moving, not even during the night, or only very little, but there is no action, right? But
unless we have a false star.
Right. But the movie stars, we see them in the movies doing lots of things, don't we? And the characters of our dreams, like the movie stars, are doing lots of things too. Now, and I want to jump now forward to one thing we did not...
Could I just ask the question I wanted to ask before? Could I just ask the question there? I hope it's a short question.
Yeah, sure.
He says something about the psychotic voiding of a bad breast is the same as maintaining the good breast. And I didn't quite understand entirely what that meant.
Okay.
How it was the same.
Does anybody want to elaborate on that?
No, I had the same question actually.
You did? That came from last week. It did.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Judith, what do you think?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I think that it's about voiding a bad breast protects the good breast. The voiding, for a psychotic, the voiding of the bad breast is the same as having a good breast in a non-psychotic? Is that the deal?
No. No, yeah, okay.
I thought it was that it's almost like you can, the bad breast is the absent breast, and you want, and you don't, I don't know, you can't conceive of the good breast, the milk, the love, until you don't experience it. Somehow it's the opposite of the negative. I don't know quite how to explain it.
Okay, let me here in shorten because I want to jump forward
Yeah.
and to leave us time to look at the grid. Um, Two things. The Yeah, and I realize we didn't talk about that last time. That has to do with the theory of thinking and the way thinking happens. But maybe when we go to the grid, we can say something more. uh, the expectation of a breast that innately is present in all babies, newborn babies. I mean, you realize that a baby has some kind of expectation that something will fit into the mouth and it's not sucking right away. You don't have to teach a baby, this is a breast, now you have to suck. It's innate that the baby has some, we call it the oral instinct, right? Some pre/conception that something will fit right into the mouth and that when it is hungry it has to suck and something will come in. And babies do that instinctively. It's a reflex. We call it the sucking reflex. Of course, some babies when they are born very premature may not have it. Some babies that are born autistic may not have it, and that may be actually one early sign of autism. A baby that was born at term is physically as it should be, but doesn't respond to the stimuli of the breast, doesn't have the reflex, right? But most babies have it, and when they get the first feeding, something comes together. Now the preconception, meaning some sort of empty box that was saying there is something that will fit right into your mouth, but the baby didn't yet have the experience, comes together and the baby has an aha moment. Oh, that was it. Yes, I knew that something, I was expecting something, but I didn't exactly know what that would be like, what it would feel, the taste of the milk, etc. So the actual experience gives this aha moment. In that moment, the preconception, and you can look right away at the grid, right? The preconception, that's row D, though I can't see well from here, but I more or less should know it by heart by now. The preconception that met now the experience, Bion calls it the realization, right? And the aha moment is a realization. Oh, now I realize, right? You were expecting something, you didn't know exactly what, but when it comes, you say, oh, now I realize. That turns the preconception into a conception. This, now I realize, meaning that now you know what it was, what it is about, what this object that you can suck and that can give you the experience of satisfaction is about. It's a conception, right?
Is there I recall Schuster saying the first impulse or preconception is the baby searching for the mother's mind rather than the breast. I mean, would you say that? How does that fit into the grid and
Well,
what you're saying?
it really fits in. That's also very Kleinian, because Klein does say that the baby at birth experiences some anxiety that if we would put it into words, but of course the baby doesn't have yet any word representation, if we translated it into words would be something like, I think I'm dying, or I fear I'm about to die. The experience of the birth canal, of being suddenly from the inside outside, having the urge to have to breathe, which is a new experience that the baby didn't have to worry at all about in the womb, the difference in the skin, the temperature, everything, right? That gives the baby a fear of dying. The more, because now the baby has a need. They need to breathe, they need to feed, they need to be held, something that in the womb the baby didn't experience at all, because it was all there, very smoothly, very much the same day and night, unless there was, which sometimes does happen, fetal distress. When there is fetal distress, then the baby may have anxiety experiences in the womb, right? If there is an infarction of the placenta, if for some reason, let's say the mother isn't breathing properly and there's not enough oxygen flowing into the baby's bloodstream through the umbilical cord. But this is not what regularly would happen, right? Why are we talking about that? I don't know now.
Trying to
Oh,
answer the
because
question,
of the
how is
mind.
taking in good the same as
Right.
evacuating bad?
Right. Now, according to Klein, the first defense of the baby, of this fear of dying, is deflecting, projecting the fear of dying into the mother's mind, meaning that the baby has some expectation, some innate expectation, call it preconception, that there is a something out there into which I can rid myself of unwanted, terrible feelings, like the fear of dying. The evidence for that, or the phenomenon that goes with that, is the baby scream. The baby typically is born, and doctors relax when, pediatricians, veterinarians relax when the baby starts crying. Say, oh, he's crying. So good. Right? We don't think that's bad. So good. Now, why is the baby crying? Well, the baby is crying, A, because it had some terrible feeling of discomfort that from the experience of the baby would be something like, I'm dying, and some need to get it out. Klein says that there is an early preconception that out is not out in the void, but is out into a something that will contain it. And typically what does happen is that the mother does respond to that. The baby cries and the mother picks the baby up, which then is the realization for the baby that what it innately, vaguely had a sense of would happen is actually happening. And now the baby has the realization, so it's no longer a preconception, now it's a conception. The baby says, aha, so this was what it was about. When I feel discomfort, I just need to cry, and when I cry, this object will come and will hold me, will contain me, will soothe me, and so on.
Just speculating, but I can imagine that the baby, having been in the womb, now outside, wonders where all that surround is that I had for so long, and it must be there somewhere. And maybe this has something to do with the idea that the baby is looking for the mind, or the body, or the existence of the mother that had been surrounding it so long.
That is very plausible, right? Yes.
I think about our impulse as human beings to seek contact with the Godhead, you know, a la Grotstein, and what a return to that preconception almost, that there is some container that might hold the terror and calm the whatever the existential experience is. I don't want to get off on that, but just a parallel with the baby seeking the light of the mother.
So
Now,
this evacuation of the bad, the baby is in terror that it's going to die.
Yes.
So it says, I have to evacuate that, and it cries. And then the mother comes and holds the baby, and that's how, when it evacuates that terrible feeling, it feels good, like taking in a good breast, because the baby actually gets held and taken care of, even though it's been evacuating this terrible bad feeling.
Well, yes, I mean, that's correct. That happens in normality. But it's not that the baby takes the evacuation of the bad as equating the intaking of the good, but that actually does happen. The baby does evacuate through his screaming, right? And typically the babies, when they scream, they also pee at the same time. When a baby is anxious, right, a beam of pee comes out, and sometimes poop also, sometimes saliva also. I mean, much gets evacuated physically along with psychically, or rather with a psychic experience that it's all happening together, right? I can put everything bad out. Now, typically that is accompanied with getting in something good. The